Hey everyone, Ben here from 4-Wheel-Drive, and today we're going to talk about the latches on your Gen 2 4-Wheel-Drive system. Whether they're the Max or the Slim, it's the same concept. So these latches use something called an over-center camming latch. They're very common in things like the GoPro dive cases or Pelican cases, or those little metal latches you see on some drawers and cabinets and things like that. Anything that's got an arm that reaches out, hooks over something and pulls it back in tight, that's effectively an over-center latch. So it was a very tricky part of the Gen 2 development phase because we obviously need to hold this nose cone onto the box very securely for waterproof purposes and to crush the seal that's inside there. So it was very tricky to find enough force to be able to hold that nose cone on, but also make it user-friendly where you can just pull the latch open and take your nose cone off, push the latch closed and close it in. So these latches took us a long time to get the geometries right and to get the materials right so that they're strong enough but have enough give and enough flex in the certain ways that they need to be able to operate correctly. They're a glass fiber reinforced nylon injection molded plastic. That's a lot of words, but it means that it's very, very strong and very rigid. But if forced to be used in the wrong way, due to the geometries and the way that you're using it, you can overload these parts and damage them, or the nose cone, or the bolts that hold it all together if used incorrectly. So we're going to go through some of the basic tips on how to latch these up correctly so that you don't wear them down faster and don't risk damage them. So let's jump straight into it. Alright, so we have a 4-Wheel-Drive Assist Max here with a sport battery already inserted, and I have a B nose cone for the sport battery. So the correct way to do up the latches is to insert the nose cone, make sure that it's completely flush with the surface of the box, and then we lift up our latch, engage the hook into the position in the nose cone, make sure that the hooks are fully engaged into those, and we do up both latches at around the same time. So that ensures that the nose cone is fully seated, the latch is fully seated, and we're sharing the load between the two latches to pull the nose cone in, squish that O-ring and make a really good secure seal, and everything is flush, straight and properly installed. So a few things to look out for when we're doing this process. One is if we put our nose cone on and we can see that it is stopped short and there's this large gap between the nose cone and the body of our foil drive, this probably means that there's something in our sealing surface, or the battery is not fully inserted into the foil drive. So you should never try to use the latches to try and close this gap, because you're going to be putting lots of load on all of these parts, trying to either squish a piece of debris or sand or something like that that's stuck in your nose cone, or you're trying to pull the battery in when, again, the latches are not designed to insert the battery, they're simply designed to be pulling the nose cone tight. So if that's the case, you need to remove the nose cone, push the battery all the way in, so that when you put the nose cone on, it comes all the way closed. So the next thing was also making sure that this hook mechanism is fully seated into the nose cone part that it receives it. So as these nose cones and latches wear a little bit as you use it, it is possible sometimes for the latch to grab on this ridge of the parts, and that means that when you go to latch it closed, you're putting extra stress and strain on these latching components and all their bolts and pivot points, because you're sitting on this ridge rather than being fully engaged in the nose cone. So that's a very important one to check. And then the last one is making sure that we're trying to do both at the same time, because that pulls the nose cone in straight rather than having not a lot of load on this latch to do up, and then this latch doing it up second is then trying to pull the nose cone straight. The last thing I'll mention is that we have seen some people online, and when we've been at demo events, not using this camming, overlocking, levering system, and they simply insert their nose cone, their latch is sitting on the top of it like that, and they try and push it down like this. That is having to make this material stretch to get over this ridge and to sit down into place, and that's a very good way to put too much load on these parts and break them, and also wear down this ridge surface and on the hook surface on this latch, meaning that the latching mechanism is not as secure and risks it being damaged or coming undone while in use. So never ever try and stretch the latch over that ridge to push it down. Always pick up the latches, lever them into that groove where they're fully engaged, and then it should only be a light amount of load required to push both latches together at the same time and they engage into place. So there we go, there's some tips and techniques for properly latching up your nose cone to your four-wheel drive Assist Max or Assist Slim. Now we're always in a rush when we're getting in the water, the waves are pumping, the wind's pumping, we just want to get out there. But taking just 2 seconds just to check that O-ring seal and to do up your latches properly saves you from breaking the latches or having a non-waterproof four-wheel drive when you jump in the water, which no one wants. But if you do happen to break a latch, your kit does come with 2 spare latches. Very important to note, these are left and right sided, and how we tell is the four-wheel drive F logo should be the same direction as the print on your four-wheel drive kit. So you can see here, this is the wrong latch for this side, whereas this one is correct. So make sure you put them on the right side because they are tapered in these hook parts to match the nose cone. So make sure you put the latches on the correct side. If you do happen to break one, they are user replaceable. It's a simple bolt, but we have a whole video on that too if you need a hand to replace your latches. So there we have it. Go enjoy your four-wheel drive and make sure you take that extra 2 seconds to make sure your latches are done up properly.